graduate school. Ranked NCAA Division II athletics program. This is the University of Tampa. Explore your dreams. Discover your talents. Get ready to invent, innovate, and be a leader. This is the University of Tampa.
Number 32, Kyle Hornsby. Inside the 30. Touchdown. Michaela burns it. An incredible finish by Hall.
The NCAA and its member schools offer nearly 500,000 college athletes a path to go pro in something other than sports. Learn more at ncaa.org/opportunity.
Good afternoon from the Namoli Family Stadium. This afternoon, the Tampa Spartans in a doubleheader against the visiting Florida Panthers. I'm Bruce Wozniak along with Taylor Stolworthy as the Spartans, coming off of a 5-1 victory last night right here at home to start this three-game series. They have won 6 in a row, and a Florida Tech team that is exactly at the 500 mark, an overall one-loss record of 20-20, while the Spartans come in with an amazing 27-2 one-loss record overall.
That's one of the best Spartan softball teams we've ever seen, and not surprised after one of their most recent defeats to already respond with 6 games won in a row. They'll be looking to close out a series sweep today in this doubleheader.
Spartans are ranked number 2. And for this game 1, they will send Gwen McGinnis to the circle. And we've got a few different looks in the Spartans lineup this afternoon, at least as compared to last night's game. Behind the plate will be Caroline Watson. We're used to seeing Lexi Chevalier behind the plate, and Chevalier is actually going to play third base in this game. Mariah Gelhaus, who we saw pitch last night, she'll be in right field. And we're ready for the opening pitch here in game 1. And it is delivered for a strike, as McGinnis facing Ella Niles. And the 1-1, and that's up high for ball 2.
I think alongside the defensive changes behind home plate, the infield isn't too different. Russo playing at short, Weininger over at second, and DeSimone still at first. And this one gets by Russo. It's a single to lead for the game for Florida Tech.
And last night we saw a good deal of action at shortstop where Steph Ballmer unfortunately had 2 errors, but she negated them by leading 2 double plays. That really avenged those miscues, which didn't really come back to haunt the Spartans. They scored 5 runs in the bottom of the first, and then a meaningless run by Florida Tech at the end of the game for the 5-1 victory. But nonetheless, Florida Tech gets their leadoff hitter aboard. And so it's Lena Pollock, the shortstop, hitting now against McGinnis. And there goes the runner. And she is in there safely.
The throw was just a little bit late, I think. It was a good jump, caught the Spartans off guard, and while it was on target from Watson, Russo and Weininger were both still getting into position, so the tag wasn't going to be made.
Elena Pollock, now the 0-1 to her, showing bunt initially, and that'll be strike 2. Taylor, we were talking last night on the broadcast, myself and Brandon Davis, about Alexa Russo, and now seeing her at short. We're used to seeing her at second. Last night she was playing third, and here she is at short. And the point that I was making was, with her being a sophomore, maybe there's an interest by Leslie Cantor in trying to develop her. As you see the strikeout there, as it's out number 2. Maybe there's an interest by Leslie Cantor to develop her around the infield so that she can use her as a utility player as her Spartans career continues on.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. We've already seen Russo make good plays over at second. I sadly wasn't able to see the game last night, but to have a player that already gives you an incredible bat in the lineup, to be able to play multiple positions, it would be useful. However, as this one is going to get by Russo.
And in a rundown, there's nobody there at first.
So a little bit of a fielding miscue, if you will, as an RBI is brought home immediately from Nelson with a single with 1 away.
One thing that they're giving up at short by not having Ballmer there is 3 inches. And some of these balls that are just over Alexa Russo's head, you have to wonder, would it have made a difference if Ballmer was in there at short? Hindsight, of course, is 20/20.
And I think that's also indeed a very interesting note because, as well, you normally look for a shortstop with great defensive ability overall, with great range and maybe even a decent arm to get throws to first. Height isn't always the biggest factor, but as you mentioned, sometimes on a play like that, having the taller shortstop can literally be the difference between a run or a quick line out and opens up a double play opportunity at second.
This is Julie Miracle, the catcher for the Panthers. Count 1-1 to her. So the Panthers see a swing and a miss. The Panthers get the first run of the game, and for them a real shot in the arm getting it in the first inning after they got the 1 run late in last night's game in falling 5-1 to UT, as that one's fouled down the third base line. And with only 1 out, not to mention a runner on first base, An encouraging start, albeit early, but an encouraging start nonetheless for head coach Val Silvestrini's Panthers team. The 1-2 from McGinnis, and fouls that one away as well.
The Panthers should be happy about scoring in the first inning. McGinnis entered the game through 14 appearances, 3 starts, and 39 innings with just 5 earned runs and 8 runs coming home total against her. So Florida Tech was already able to get some damage against one of the better Spartan pitchers.
And there you see the fly out to Lauren Fantone for out number 2. But the Panthers are putting the bat on the ball early here. We saw a lot of 1-2-3 innings last night. And so it bears repeating. An encouraging start nonetheless for Florida Tech, as we'll now see Michaela Lewin into the batter's box. We mentioned last night that she is absolutely the player that has traveled the farthest to be here, hailing from Lower Hutt, New Zealand.
That'd be a tricky trip for the family to come up and watch. They'd have to choose, I think, one weekend to come and visit Florida to see her perform off a trip like that. But if its family is tuning in from New Zealand, hello, and hopefully you're enjoying the weather down there, because I believe for New Zealand it's just around fall in comparison for the United States.
And another base hit for the Panthers as Lewin drops that one in for a single that will move the runner up to second. And with 2 outs, Florida Tech already with 1 run in this top of the first. And that'll bring up Ella Gibson, who, as I said last night, is a good deal from her hometown herself, hailing from San Francisco. And the first pitch to her, strike 1. Strike 2. I have to say, for all the Spartans games that I've been up here for over the years, rather strange to look down and see Lexi Chevalier at third base. And maybe for Florida Tech, a little different for them as well, as that one's up high for a ball.
But I agree. It's certainly interesting because, I think for the majority of Chevalier's starts for the Spartans over her career, she's formed the battery alongside the players in the circle. So it's good to see her continuing the Iron Woman streak of games being played for the Spartans, as McGinnis will get the final strikeout to end the inning. But always cool to see new players in new spots.
So the Panthers in the top of the first get 1 run on 3 hits, no Spartan errors, and there were 2 left on base. We will be back on TampaSpartans.tv with the bottom of the first inning. Back at the Namoli Family Stadium and ready for the bottom of the first inning. And to continue the conversation about Lexi Chevalier, the irony about her playing third instead of catcher is that in the lineup she's listed as outfielder/catcher.
That's even better, just to kind of see that level of difference.
And I'm sure it has to be strange for her also. We're talking about seeing her from up here at third base. It has to be very different for her to be standing at third and watching the game play out in front of her instead of from behind the plate.
I agree, and I wonder how she's going to react when a ball is hit her way in the field. Obviously, she wouldn't have just been put in without any practice playing the infield, and being listed as an outfielder, she definitely will have the experience to do well in the field, but it might maybe be a little confusing for the first time to see a play like that happen in such a long time.
This is left fielder Lauren Fantone leading off, as always, for the Spartans, and the count against her is 2-1, and the starting pitcher here in Game 1 is the same pitcher that we saw last night for Florida Tech, Allison Platten, and a rough first inning, but otherwise a really great outing for Platten last night. Innings 2 through 6, being that UT didn't have to bat in the bottom of the 7th, but really did well, and unfortunate that she and her teammates had the first inning that they did, and has to have some confidence off of that performance coming into this start here. As you see the walk to Fantone, so UT gets their leadoff runner aboard.
I think the Spartans' best method of going against Platten will be trying to utilize good plate discipline, because Platten leads Florida Tech in walks conceded with 46, and while that also comes with her pitching the most amount of innings, it's clear that her strikeout to walk ratio is something the Spartans should try to target where it's just a little over 1.
Keister puts down the bunt, and Platten with trouble, and then it's fumbled at first base as well. And so Keister will reach base on what should be scored an error, and UT has their first 2 runners aboard, and that sets up nicely for the dangerous Mariah Galehouse.
And you certainly do not want runners in scoring position for Mariah Galehouse. If it was a different hitter, you might maybe guess the Spartans could try another sacrifice bunt and try to advance the runners, but certainly not Galehouse, and well, Galehouse was immediately proving me wrong, as they were going to have her try to advance the runners.
I'm with you. I thought as you were saying that to myself that, well, she's not someone that we very much see bunt, and lo and behold, she showed bunt, and let's see if she sticks with it or not.
Be a good idea maybe to try to get the corner infielders ready to jump, and then take a swing and see if you can get a hit by them. And that's what she does there as she falls behind 0-2.
Looking down the third base line, her coach, Leslie Cantor, down there. Fantone at second, Lily Keister at first. And Allison Platten getting the signal from Miracle. And it's ball 1.
In terms of Galehouse stats, an incredible season for her so far. .630 slugging, just a tad under 400 with the batting average, where she's only 36 points above team average of .347, again signifying just how good the Spartans team is.
And both runners will advance. Miracle not able to handle that one. And a break in the Spartans' favor, as Galehouse with an opportunity now to potentially bring home both of the runners. I should say better odds than, obviously she could have done it had they not moved up, but better odds now as you see that one go high and outside.
Gales definitely has the power to hit into the gap, so they could have scored from first and second. Comes a lot easier now, as you mentioned, from second and third.
Platten winds, delivers. Galehouse shoots that one to center field and caught for the out, as the run will score. So a sac fly for Mariah Galehouse, and that brings in Lauren Fantone and ties the game at 1. So the cleanup hitter, Cameron Weininger, as Keister now at third base. And as encouraging as that top of the first was for Florida Tech, I imagine that watching UT tie the game that quickly has to pop their balloon to some extent.
I think it certainly will. And I think that's also maybe a reason Spartans fans probably weren't as worried when they saw that first run come home, because they know just how strong the Spartan side is, and they know that they can immediately respond when they concede early on. It's just kind of, I think, we'll reiterate for Florida Tech that this will be a tough game. You're going to have to keep beating Gwen McGinnis to really put in the fight for a chance of victory here.
Weininger looks at that one, count even 1-1. Next pitch on the way popped up and deep to center field and caught as Keister will come home. And the center fielder, Cheyenne Nelson, busy in this bottom of the first. And it's a good thing that the Panthers are a Florida-based team because it's 87 degrees out, and I imagine feels a lot more than that down on the field. I did notice the strategic uniform choice. Last night UT wore black, and this afternoon, for a doubleheader, mind you, making the Panthers be the ones to wear the dark color.
Yeah, and I mean, I was already sweating. I was walking over here from my final class today. It is very warm outside, and while I know these players will definitely be able to shake off any extra heat they feel from the uniforms, it may play a little psychological factor, and that can play a role in a game like this.
You convince yourself that it's hotter than it actually is.
Indeed.
The 1-1, and Russo gets the bat on that one, but that will be caught by McLaughlin for out number 3. The Spartans take the lead, however, getting 2 runs on, believe it or not, no hits. There were 2 Panthers errors, and we are 2-1, end of 1, and back with more softball on TampaSpartans.tv.
I pledge.
I am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination.
I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against fear and doubt.
I pledge to strive for trust and belief in one another.
I pledge to stand against complacency and stagnancy.
I pledge to strive for change and growth.
I commit to supporting my fellow student athletes in all circumstances that impact them.
I commit to both choosing unity personally and encouraging it for all.
I pledge these things because we are stronger together.
United as one.
Back here at the Namoli Family Stadium, 2-1, Spartans in the lead after 1 inning. And as I mentioned, going into the break, a little strange to look at the scoreboard and see the Spartans with 2 runs but no hits.
In fact, yeah, I mean, that's kind of funny. If you take a look at the first 4 Spartan hitters, they will be 0 for 0 entering their second at-bat. You had the leadoff walk, had an error, followed by the 2 sac flies that gave the Spartans the lead. So neither of those 4 hitters had any official plate appearances. That's a very fun little statistical anomaly as McGinnis starts ahead 0-1, make it 0-2 after the foul ball.
Ogbedewu, the first base player for the Panthers, the number 7 hitter in the Florida Tech lineup, leading off this top of the second. And the 0-2 to her, and she gets underneath that one, and that will be caught by Cameron Weininger for out number 1. And no more valuable piece of equipment for Cameron Weininger than those sunglasses, as she had to look straight up for that pop fly.
Sometimes when it's a bright day in the booth, even I need to use my sunglasses while watching the games. It's certainly, I think, even more important to the field since they're looking towards the sun as the game continues.
Miranda Schwartz, the designated player for the Panthers, facing freshman Gwen McGinnis. And the 0-1 fouls that off. Got to believe that at this point in the season, McGinnis probably no longer feels like a freshman, has had enough work under her belt.
And I agree because, again, gets the start for Game 2 of the series. I think if she still felt like as a freshman, or even if Coach felt like that she wasn't fully ready to really become a dominant starter in a series like this, she'd be waiting for that third game or being a player that just comes out of the bullpen to finish the game. She's really blossomed into a strong pitcher and will serve as a backbone of the rotation for years to come.
And her 1-2 offering to Schwartz swung on and fouled back to the screen. Miranda Schwartz stays alive. She herself being a freshman. You might as well say from this area. She's from Lutz. And the 1-2, swing and a miss. And down goes Miranda Schwartz as out number 2 of the top of the second. And that confidence builds even more. We're talking about the amount of action that McGinnis has had this season, but you get those strikeouts and just does so much for you psychologically.
And certainly when it comes to McGinnis, she always utilizes great stuff. She's able to get a lot of strikeouts, and today she's already recorded 3 in just the first 1 2/3 of the innings. So it's a great start for her from the circle.
The second base player, Kelly McLaughlin. The number 9 hitter swings and misses. Caroline Watson, the catcher, see her looking over to her dugout for the signals to relay to McGinnis. And the 1-1 is popped up, and that will go out of play on the first base side. And now the 1-2, and that goes outside. Count goes even. McGinnis ready, delivers, and that's going to be low for ball 3.
Good discipline from McLaughlin, just waiting for the pitch he likes, and now has got it to a full count.
3-2, and that will stay fair down the left field line, and Fantone not able to get a handle on it, and so standing up going into second is Kelly McLaughlin, keeping the inning alive for the Panthers.
It's a good job on Fantone just to make sure it didn't get too far behind her as she was trying to track to get it. Because even though it was slowing down, rolling on the ground, that's still dangerous because if it gets behind you, that turns from a potential double into a triple or even more with the large outfield here that the outfielders have to track.
Brings Florida Tech back around to the top of the order. And left fielder Ella Niles, she had singled to start off the game. And shows bunt, and that's going to roll foul.
It's a risky play with 2 outs, but almost had worked. If it stayed fair, it would have been a very close play at first.
She steps back into the batter's box behind 0-2. Showing bunt again and slaps it. And Weininger bobbles it. And the runner's going to come all the way around and is safe at home. And as a result, Niles ends up at second base. So not the most solid defensive inning for UT as the Panthers have the game tied up at 2.
I'd argue that's been the majority of the game as well for the Spartans. It's mainly been a lot of bloop singles and balls that are put in play that would take some maybe difficult defensive grabs, but certainly the Spartans haven't been able to make too many plays out there in the field, which is unfortunate because apart from that full count double down the line, it hasn't really been a lot of hard contact conceded. A lot of the times it'll be just a quick little weak grounder or weak pop-up that sometimes drops down. I mean, such is softball and such is the game, but it's a shame when that happens because those 2 runs aren't really McGinnis' fault at the end of the day. I wonder if that one will go down as earned or not. Since the previous play was an error, I think it will be unearned.
And Leslie Cantor now coming out of the dugout. I had wondered if we were going to get, if not a pinch hitter, a pinch runner, and it's Cantor that's actually the one that's, I don't want to say holding things up, but in other words, the Panthers are not making any kind of changes. As Lena Pollock has been waiting patiently, the Panthers shortstop, she struck out in the first inning and now looks at that one for a ball. So the go-ahead run at second base. And that's going to be another ball. And that's fouled off here on the first base side. Lena Pollock behind in the count here, 1-2. Outside for ball 2.
Was the second pitch called a ball, or was it actually a strike that was a later call? I'm trying to remember.
2-2. And gets the strikeout looking, wow. And I think Pollock isn't too happy. I don't know if it's with the call or with herself. But in any event, the Panthers do manage to tie up the game. 1 run on 1 hit. There were no Spartan errors and 1 runner left on base. Through 1.5, we are tied at 2. Be back with more softball coming up on TampaSpartans.tv.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can. And then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive, to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
Ready to start the bottom of the second, and designated player Avery Perkins to lead things off here for UT. First pitch on the way to her, and fouls it back.
Perkins has done well this season, hitting .407 alongside a .453 on-base percentage. Has a positive walk-to-strikeout rate of 5-3.
And now the 0-1 to Perkins, and looks at that one low for ball 1. Allison Platt, and you just see great composure from her, very steady in the circle as that one goes right through her legs and into the outfield for a base hit. And Avery Perkins, congratulations. You are the first hit of the game for the Spartans, despite them having 2 runs in the first inning.
And I think the even funnier stat is this brings the Spartans' batting average for the game to .500. They've only had 2 actual at-bats. I think I mentioned it over the break that the first 4 Spartan hitters all were not registered with an official at-bat. Fantone walked. Keister had an error to reach base. Galehouse and Weininger had sac fly RBIs.
Lexi Chevalier shows bunt, and it's foul. Chevalier, a number 7 hitter, showing bunt initially, and does attempt another bunt, and the home plate umpire, nope, that one bounced, strike 2.
It had bounced backward into Miracle's glove, which, if it had remained fair, would have been a miracle for Miracle. Would have allowed a potential out at second to be made on the sacrifice play.
Taylor Cornway, the home plate umpire. And there's going to be ball 1. In the infield, it's Tyrone Miller, umpire currently stationed between first and second.
I hate to be too corny, but that previous pitch would have been a miracle if the frame attempt had worked.
And wow, Chevalier sends that one. Looks like it's bouncing off of a car and way out of play.
That's headed over to the cross field in that direction and the parking garage that fans sometimes use for the game. But not a surprise. Chevalier has a lot of power, leads the team with home runs this season with 4.
The 1-2, and she sends that one to left field, and a nice catch made out there by Niles. And so Chevalier gives it quite a ride, but Ella Niles sends her back to the dugout as out number 1, and that'll bring up the number 8 hitter, which is first base player Kate DeSimone.
That was an important play being made by Niles, because if that drops into the gap, I think Perkins would have easily been able to score from first.
DeSimone follows the first pitch back to the screen. She obviously has a little bit of expectation of what she might see from Allison Platten, having batted against her last night. And the 0-1, that's outside for a ball.
And I think that's an important note as well, Bruce. The Spartans already have seen Platten. They know how she pitches for some of her routines, and they won't be surprised with anything she brings out today. So they actually have a little bit of an advantage. But then for Platten, from the circle, she's seen a lot of what the Spartans hitters have done. She knows when they're more likely to swing, when they're more likely to bunt. She's also not going to get surprised by a lot of things. Hence, maybe a reason the Spartans did make a couple changes to try to maybe throw Platten off.
The 1-2 to DeSimone up high for ball 2. Yeah, because the first couple of points you made seem like they cancel each other out, and then you say, well, let's change things up a little bit then.
It really is a bit of a chess match.
Yeah, try to find any edge they can. DeSimone, and a great play at short. However, all it does is keep the ball in the infield as DeSimone reaches safely, and Perkins advances to second.
I think for Pollock, the thing she'll regret most about that play is the fact that it hit the ground instead of being a line drive. It was an incredible diving grab, but from that position, it would have been impossible to get either Perkins out at second or DeSimone out at first. But
yeah, I was going to say credit Lena Pollock nonetheless.
Of course.
Great effort.
Not be surprised if that goes down as one of the fielding plays of the game or even series as Watson fouls the first pitch off.
Caroline Watson, the number 9 hitter, and Leslie Cantor's lineup for this first game of the scheduled doubleheader. Allison Platten, whose pitch count just over 30 now. And drops that in for strike 2.
The off-speed just got the top half of the plate very well located.
The 0-2 to Watson. Looks at ball 1. DeSimone on first base, Perkins on second. The 1-2 from Platten. And ball 2, I think that Miracle caught that one outside the strike zone and tried to pull it back in, trying to fool the home plate umpire Cornway with the finish. And he wasn't buying what she was selling. The 2-2 now. Fouled back. Caroline Watson looking over her shoulder. Lauren Fantone waiting on deck. Platten, and does get Watson to go down. her first strikeout victim of the game. And so 2 outs in the bottom of the second.
And I'll say that was a great strike 3 pitch. Got it with, it looked to be maybe like a changeup just going outside. And Watson, you could tell, was like, oh, shoot, that's going to be a ball, and tried to hold up, but was already too far. And that is a pretty good strikeout to get the second out.
Lauren Fantone walked to lead off the game. And the 1-0 to her now. Way outside for ball 2. I made the astute observation last night that you thought LF stood for left field, but it stands for Lauren Fantone.
Very true.
That's why they placed her there. If her first name started with a C, she'd be playing in center field.
And if it was an R, she'd be starting in right field.
3-0. And sets up for potential second walk of the game for Fantone. Platten delivers. And no, strike 1.
It's a green light to take in a 3-0 count, though, so I don't think Fantone will regret passing up on a pitch that was pretty much down the middle.
The 3-1. And that's going to be ball 4. Fantone, her second walk of the game. And that loads the bases for the Spartans. And up comes Lily Keister. Anxious moments here for the Panthers as UT with an opportunity here to do some damage. 2 outs, though, and Keister follows the first pitch back to the screen.
I think all Keister wants to try to do in this at-bat is keep the inning alive. She knows Galehouse is on deck and would love to bring her a possibility with maybe runners on, whether it's bases loaded still or a couple having come home and scored.
And that one's up high for a ball. Just reach base safely, in other words. Harkens back to the old Bad News Bears movie. And lean into the pitch. 1-1 on the way. And Keister finds the opening and drops it in. DeSimone racing all the way around, and she'll score as well. And a 2 RBI single for Lily Keister. And UT a 4-2 lead.
That's all you need sometimes. A nice little well-placed hit. Lewin was playing a little far in and couldn't track back to get it, and it fell right in front of Pollock. She didn't have enough time to reach it, so that's all you need, and the Spartans have once again struck. It's kind of funny. You look, first inning, Florida Tech scores, Tampa scores 2. Florida Tech scores, Tampa scores 2. It's been an absolute repeat on the score sheet.
Galehouse pops that one out of play. She obviously would like to undo that pattern and add even more run support here for Gwen McGinnis. Next pitch and sent to center field and caught nicely. A great effort there by Cheyenne Nelson for the third and final out of the second inning, but not before UT puts 2 runs on 3 hits, no errors, and leave 2 runners for a 4-2 lead through 2 complete. Back with more softball coming up on TampaSpartans.tv. Back here at the Nemoli Family Stadium, Bruce Wozniak joined by Taylor Stolworthy, ready to start the top of the third inning. And we just saw Cheyenne Nelson make that catch in center field to end the bottom of the second. And she is the leadoff hitter for the Panthers here in the top of the third. And the first pitch to her is ball one. Nelson had an RBI single in the first inning. And the next pitch to her, ball two. Cheyenne Nelson all the way up from what I like to call the corner state, Washington, sends that one to right center field, all the way back to the fence. And she will go in standing up with a double. Almost kind of expected her to try to make it to third. And so a good start to this top of the third for Florida Tech.
It's bad news, I think, for Nelson, because any other park, that could have been a home run to make it a 4-3 ball game.
Well, and I said that I was surprised that she didn't go to third. I wonder if she pulled a hamstring or something, because she was awfully slow in getting to second, and now you see two members of the Panther staff out there talking to her. It might actually be someone from UT and someone from Florida Tech. Regardless, the fact that she's quote-unquote having to be attended to, I guess it is two members of the Panther staff, but the fact that she's having to be attended to and is walking off the field, they're going to have a pinch runner, as we're going to see Whitney Ellis come in to run for Nelson. And for the Panthers, they have to hope that it's going to be very, very temporary, because she did make that great catch out in center field to end the bottom of the second, and certainly want to have her back defensively as well.
Nelson also delivered an RBI back in the first inning, so she's really done a lot for the offense and, as you mentioned, on defense. So losing her will certainly hurt. Talk about bad news, getting even worse now.
Let's hope it's temporary and that just getting on the bench for the rest of this at-bat is maybe all she needs, a little attention from a trainer. Jolie Miracle, the batter, 0-1 to her. Pops that one up and off the screen. Miracle flew out to left field in the first inning. And batting here in the top of the third, her team trailing 4-2. The 0-2, and fouls it down the third baseline. Lexi Chevalier, I think, is kind of showing the home fans, in case you didn't know what I look like, since I always have a catcher's mask on. Here you go. And there's one sent to center field and caught. Tag up is made. Keister throws it in. And the pinch runner, Whitney Ellis, is safe at third.
I also like to note as well for Chevalier over at third, only player on the field not wearing a cap, of course, other than McGinnis, who's wearing the full pitcher's mask. That's a little hard to wear a cap on top of that.
Yeah, I had noticed that myself, that she opted to go without the visor. And McGinnis winds, delivers, and swing and a miss by Michaela Lewin. Lewin singled in the first inning. Oh, and 2 now.
She was looking for a bunt there, so I think interesting that Florida Tech was really going for the squeeze to try to get Tampa maybe not ready in terms of fielding and try to score via that.
The 0-2 outside for ball one. Just one out here in the top of the third. And the Panthers have pinch runner Whitney Ellis over at third base, trying to cut into this 2-run deficit. And now the 1-2 from McGinnis. Swung on and finds the gap between second and short. And indeed it is now a one-run game as she drives in Whitney Ellis for Florida Tech's third run.
Just great two-strike base hitting there to find the gap and bring it through. I think you might have mentioned sixth hit of the ball game for Florida Tech. They have converted quite often, getting bat to ball.
Ella Gibson looks at the first pitch for a ball. The Panthers right fielder. The 1-0 from McGinnis. Popped up. And Chevalier underneath it for out number 2.
I'll say if you're a fan of offense, 7 runs and 2/3 here for Florida Tech is a very good start for the doubleheader today.
Maya Ogbadewu, 0 for 1 in this game. And the 1-0 to her, swung on and missed.
Went a little late. It looked like she was looking for an off-speed pitch, but sort of a fastball there from McGinnis to get back in the count.
And there's strike 2. Trying to close out the top of the third. Here's the 1-2. And that's going to be ball 2. Ogbadewu stays alive against Gwen McGinnis. Here's the 2-2. And the count goes full. Throw down to second. And Russo drops it. And so Lewin safe. And the tying run now in scoring position.
And that's a tough play to have to make. Russo was right there, but she wouldn't have been able to get the out if she wasn't ready to move for the tag. And that's probably the reason the ball slipped out as it drops.
Fair, and the tying run comes all the way around. And Ogbadewu drives in Michaela Lewin, and the game is tied at 4. And that's the second ball that we've seen Florida Tech hit just inside the left field line.
And very similar to the first inning where we saw a stolen base get a runner in scoring position where the hit then brought the runner home.
And now there's a pop-up and goes to right field where it's caught for out number 3 by Mariah Galehouse. So the Panthers get 2 runs on 3 hits. There were no Spartan errors and 1 runner left on base. And when we come back for the bottom of the third, it will be in a 4-4 game right here on TampaSpartans.tv.
I am an NCAA student athlete.
And I pledge to be a champion of unity
on my team, on my campus, and in my community.
I pledge to embrace differences and strive for inclusion and collaboration.
I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination.
I pledge to strive for love, care, and forgiveness.
I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity.
I pledge to strive for dialogue, truth, and understanding.
I pledge to stand against fear and doubt.
I pledge to strive for trust and belief in one another.
I pledge to stand against complacency and stagnancy.
I pledge to strive for change and growth.
I commit to supporting my fellow student athletes in all circumstances that impact them.
I commit to both choosing unity personally and encouraging it for all.
I pledge these things because we are stronger together.
United as one.
A tie game as the Panthers put up 2 in the top of the third, and 4-4 is their score as Cameron Weininger comes to the plate to start things off for the Spartans.
And as we get started, I'd like to give you a very, very crazy stat for Cameron. This season, she's had 4 strikeouts and 18 walks.
Wow.
That is unbelievable plate discipline.
It's so eye-opening that it begs, are you reading the stat line correctly? That's very, very lopsided.
And, I mean, honestly, I was just as surprised, but from what it looks like, it is. Cameron enters the at-bat here, or the game today, with a .510 on-base percentage, too.
Count 1-0 to her. And Allison Platten, for those wondering, pitch count approaching 50. That right there was number 49. Count is 2-0.
So far, Platten and McGinnis have had a sort of risen pitch counts. I know McGinnis is, I think, 50s, maybe close to 60. So you have to wonder, maybe both teams will have to make a call to the bullpen a little bit later.
And here's the 2-0. Swung on and finds the opening for a base hit. And so Cameron Weininger starts off UT's bottom of the 3rd with their 4th hit of the game. And brings up Alexa Russo.
Russo had the first official at-bat back in the 1st inning for the Spartans after the walk, error, and 2 sac flies.
Showing bunt, and it's in. However, she's going to be out at first and is successful in sacrificing her teammate Cameron Weininger over to second. And that'll bring up Avery Perkins. So 1 out, but a runner on second. Perkins, ball 1 to her. And Perkins, you might recall, singled in the 2nd inning. And here she is facing the 1-0 from Platten. And that one looked like it was borderline in the dirt as the count goes to 2-0. And as much as, Taylor, you looked at that inflated walk total for Cameron Weininger, I'm doing a double take at the scoreboard. There's one to the outfield and just caught. Ranging back was Lena Pollock from the shortstop position for the 2nd out. I'm looking twice at the scoreboard and seeing that Florida Tech already has 7 hits.
And honestly, that's just pure BABIP luck. I think almost everything Florida Tech has put in play has turned into a hit or something that's been beneficial because they've been able to generate that offense. They're hitting just under or just a little over 400 for their batting average in the game. And McGinnis, for out of the 9 outs she's been able to record, 5 of them were strikeouts.
This is Lexi Chevalier, Tampa's number 7 hitter. And the 0-1 to her, outside for a ball. I see Miracle again on that one, catching it out of the strike zone and trying to pull it back in, and have to wonder if the umpire might give her a friendly piece of advice. You don't need to do that. As Chevalier shoots it foul on the first base side.
Good job battling there by Chevalier. Would have a chance to give the Spartans a lead. Neither team has gone an inning without scoring yet.
As you see, ball 2. And I can see the viewers now scurrying to their laptops to send emails and tweets about the broadcaster's curse, courtesy of Taylor Stolworthy, as we're 2 outs here in the bottom of the 3rd, and UT has not scored. And there's the delivery, and fouled back as Chevalier stays alive. Lexi flew out to left field in the 2nd inning.
I'll say someone should put together a compilation of all my commentators' curses over the years. And it's not just softball. Baseball fans, soccer fans, lacrosse fans here have had to deal with it all the same.
The 2-2, and that's up high. Chevalier hangs in there as the count goes full. And keep in mind that Lexi has Cameron Weininger over at second base. And here comes the 3-2 from Platten, and chopped right back to her and over to first for the third and final out. So there it is, the first scoreless inning by either team so far in this game, as our score remains 4-4 through three complete, and we'll be back with more on TampaSpartans.tv.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. On the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
And we're back with a pitching change to start the top of the fourth inning, as Mariah Gelhaus has come in to replace Gwen McGinnis. And Kelly McLaughlin stepping into the batter's box. Mackenzie Allen takes over in right field for the Spartans, where Gelhaus had been playing the first three innings. Kelly McLaughlin doubled in the second inning, and this time she faces Mariah Gelhaus. Count even at 1-1.
I think just looking back for McGinnis, 3 innings wasn't too bad. Just a lot of bad ball and play luck when it comes to it. A lot of hits were getting through, whether they were bloops or just right on the line, as we saw 2 runs come home that way. It'll be up to Gelhaus to try to keep these Florida Tech hot bats and quiet them a little.
Yeah, the Spartans are 27-2, but you still can take nothing for granted. Every game, you're just going out saying, how do we win this game? And I think in that case, Leslie Cantor probably decided, I just can't be too sure, and let's go to the better safe than sorry route. Florida Tech has found a way to hit McGinnis. As I had mentioned, 7 hits. So you change it up, and thus we have Mariah Gelhaus here.
And another hit came on McLaughlin, but that time it was a hit by pitch, but she was really going forward for a bunt, so that one was fouled off for strike 2, and now she's going to go down looking for strike 3, the first strikeout right away for Mariah Gelhaus.
That'll bring up Ella Niles, the leadoff hitter. Niles is 1 for 2 in this game. Gelhaus ready, delivers, and Niles was showing bunt, and to no avail. Oh, 0-1 to Ella Niles, who is also from California. And there's a chopper, great play by Weininger over to DeSimone for out number 2. And tremendous play there defensively by Cameron Weininger.
That play got a well-deserved round of applause here at Moli Family Stadium. Incredible effort by her, and also to get the throw just in time as Niles was close to running it out.
Lena Pollock, the number 2 hitter in the Panthers batting order. Oh and 2. Lena Pollock hoping to keep this inning alive for her team as they are tied 4-4 with the Spartans as that one goes foul. Galhouse and Caroline Watson, the battery now. 0-2 on the way. And that's ball 1.
Trying to give a fastball low to get a swing and miss or something chopped, but just didn't work.
And Lena Pollock strikes out for the 3rd time this game. And that's going to end the top of the 4th inning very quickly as the game remains tied at 4. And we'll be back with more softball coming up on TampaSpartans.tv. Back at Nemoli Family Stadium, I'm Bruce Wozniak, joined by Taylor Stolworthy. We are in a 4-4 tie in Game 1 of a scheduled doubleheader. Kate DeSimone, the Spartans' number 8 hitter, leading things off here in the bottom of the 4th.
Oh.
And Allison Platten, who has thrown 61 pitches, sends that one in for ball 1. And DeSimone gets underneath that one, and that's caught routinely for out number 1 by Whitney Ellis. And we don't have any kind of update for you on Cheyenne Nelson, who was playing center field, is not playing center field currently. There was that play offensively where it ended up as a double, and I had wondered why she didn't try to go for third. And unofficial, it's my own personal speculation, not based on anything, but maybe might have pulled up with a hamstring or something, but has not returned defensively. Playing center field now is Ella Niles for Florida Tech, so we'll keep an eye out. Never know, maybe Cheyenne Nelson will be back for Game 2.
That's a benefit, at least, for Florida Tech. They have a doubleheader, so they can take Nelson out, maybe give her some ice, give her a chance to rest the leg a little bit, because it could have been something that just got aggravated after the sliding catch in center field she had not too long ago. But obviously really hope she'll be okay for Game 2 and later beyond, because if she's still not feeling perfect, Florida Tech could give her the second game of rest and have her ready for the next time Florida Tech is ready to play.
Spartans catcher Caroline Watson, the 1-1 to her, swings and misses. She struck out in the second inning. And it's Platten's only strikeout of this game so far. And so Platten's 1-2 now to Watson. And sends that one for a base hit. So the Spartans get their number 9 hitter aboard and come back to the top of the order for Lauren Fantone with only one down here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Yeah, this was a very good fly ball. Gets by Pollock right into no player's land, if you will.
Fantone has drawn walks both times she's been up in this game, first and second innings. And is 25% of the way there towards a third. Platten's next pitch to her. And that's strike one. Lily Keister on deck. And that one was low for ball 2 after having 5 consecutive half innings with 1 or more runs scored. We've now had 2 consecutive half innings with nothing going up in the run column on the scoreboard. UT would like to change that. And the next pitch, and it is fair. Fantone heads for second, and they will hold Watson at third. And so they put themselves in a very good position now to change that 2 consecutive half innings with no runs going up on the board. Lily Keister in to hit.
That was so close to going foul. And I know Florida Tech's first base player is just going to be very disappointed that it did just ever so barely stay fair. It puts 2 aboard in scoring position for a pretty strong bat on Keister, who delivered an RBI last time. 2 of them, in fact.
And Keister sends that one to left center and caught as Watson races home. And the Spartans take the lead. High five between Keister and Watson as UT now leads at 5-4. And Mariah Gelhaus comes to the plate. Keep in mind that the Spartans still have a runner on second in the person of Lauren Fantone. That one's in the dirt. The 1-0, and Gelhaus, that one's going to be caught for out number 3, but not before the Spartans regain the lead. A 5-4 advantage for the home team, and we'll be back with the top of the 5th coming up on TampaSpartans.tv. Ready for the top of the 5th as the Panthers now find themselves trailing. 7 hits for Florida Tech, 6 for UT. Each team has committed one error. And this is Whitney Ellis batting for the visitors.
Ellis is, of course, the replacement for Nelson. That's what they made the change in the outfield. Ellis now occupies one of those corner outfield spots as teammate Ella Niles moved over to center field. But let's see if Ellis can find the same success as Nelson did at the plate. Finds herself 1-1 now.
Looked like she was thinking bunt. This is probably where the Panthers want to be, trailing by 1 right in the heart of the order. The number 3 hitter Ellis. And looked like she was going to show bunt again there. So waiting on deck, the number 4 hitter, Jolie Miracle. Next pitch from Gelhaus. And strike called. Count goes even to Whitney Ellis. Swing and a miss. And down goes Ellis.
Gelhaus getting her third strikeout of the game. And because she had those 2 strikeouts back in the previous inning, Gelhaus, this is the first time we actually see a swinging strikeout when she's been in the circle. The other 2 were going down looking on those great off speeds that Gelhaus is famous for.
There's a base hit, and Fantone a little trouble finding the handle. And so the Panthers, Miracle with the single. And they're absolutely bringing it today, trying to knock off this number 2 ranked Spartans team.
Even though Fantone missed the ball at first in the outfield, she did a great job of immediately getting back on top of it and was ready in case Miracle was trying to turn that into a double. The throw would have beat Miracle by a country mile. It forced Miracle to go back to first and settle for that 1-out single.
The third base player, Michaela Lewin, and sends that one foul down the left field line. You got a feel for Jolie Miracle. I'm sure at this point she's just heard every pun with her last name imaginable.
I think the only miracle for her will be if we stop making those puns, or more correctly, I stop making those puns.
If you don't like the puns, send your complaints to University of Tampa, care of Taylor Stolworthy. 1 Spartan Circle. This is an imaginary address. Your letter will never get here.
Yep.
As you see a strike from Gelhaus. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And right to Weininger and diving back in time is Miracle to keep the inning alive for the Panthers. Heads-up defense there by Cameron Weininger. As we get into the number 6 slot in the Panthers order, and Ella Gibson. Wow, all kinds of speed from Gelhaus on that one.
And that's why Gelhaus, I think, is so tough to face. She has a great arsenal of curveballs, changeups, and also a fastball that'll blow you away if you're not ready, as the count goes 0-2. Because if you're trying to keep up with the fastball, you're going to look foolish swinging and missing at this 2-strike off speed that might be coming up here.
Yeah, would have loved to have seen a radar gun on that first strike. Gibson behind 0-2. And bounces that one foul behind the plate.
Gibson's lucky she got a tip to it on that play because that was the off-speed and it looked like it had fooled her.
And that one catches the outside corner, ball 1. Galehouse delivers, and that one's going to be fielded and just in time at first for out number 3, Russo over to DeSimone. And the Panthers are retired in the top of the 5th inning. Spartans clinging to the 1-run lead. They had no runs on 1 hit and no errors. And we will be back with the bottom of the 5th right here on TampaSpartans.tv. Cameron Weininger, who we saw make that nice play defensively, she will start things off offensively for her Tampa Spartans here in the bottom of the 5th. And her team in the lead 5-4. Much different look than last night's game when UT led 5-0 after 1 inning and for all intents and purposes coasted to a 5-1 win.
While Tampa has scored 5 runs, it's been anything but coasting at this stage because Florida Tech have really put up a great fight. They actually have more hits than the Spartans.
Way back in left field, gone! A home run for Cameron Weininger. And the dugout empties to meet her at home plate as she sends that one way over the left field wall.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the first time we've seen a home run at home all season for the Spartans. Wow.
Cameron Weininger got a hold of that one, and the Spartans go into a 6-4 lead.
And of course, it happens to be in the game I hand over play-by-play to you to keep my voice in check.
I'm wondering what's happening down here with Alexa Russo, because following the celebration around home plate, a couple of them immediately gathered around her, and you see them looking at Russo, and something occurred in the celebration, I believe.
Uh-oh.
And she looks like she's going to stay in the game, but it's one of those bizarre mishaps that unfortunately have become just a little bit too common in baseball and softball.
Ask New Year Met fans about Edwin Diaz. He tore his ACL while celebrating at the World Baseball Classic. At least the good news for Spartans fans is Russo will be able to play through it. I think maybe it might have been she got hit by something during the celebration and maybe might be bleeding a little.
Yeah, whereas I believe Diaz is out for the entire season, if I'm not mistaken.
He would maybe be able to come back for the postseason if he's able to get fitness in time, but yeah, with an ACL, that is typically a very long injury, even for a pitcher. So, well, I mean, especially for a pitcher, because legs do have a lot to do in a pitching motion, just like in softball. You see from the circle, a lot of action in the legs.
And Russo, whatever that was that happened, finds herself ahead in the count 2-0. And now she lashes one to the outfield. It's going to roll all the way to the fence, and she goes for 2 and will be held there. So she follows up the Weininger home run with a stand-up double. And Russo, whatever happened in that celebration, goes up in the count, and then all of a sudden sends that one all the way to the outfield fence. And the Spartans have definitely found their offense here in the bottom of the 5th inning, and we are going to have a pinch runner as Abigail Siegel is going to come in to run for Alexa Russo.
I think Russo will be back in the game at the bottom half of the inning, but they typically like to pinch run for Russo sometimes. They usually like to get one of the faster base runners out there if they have Russo alone in scoring position. Because also, Russo, I think, probably isn't injured. It's more just that, more of a tactical, hey, let's pinch runner and also give her a chance in case she is bleeding to cover it up.
And you made the point, get someone in there that's faster. Leslie Cantor is not taking this game for granted. Her team is up by 2, but she sees what a game Florida Tech is giving them and says, if we can make it 7-4 instead of 6-4, let's put ourselves in the best possible chance to do that. And that's probably why we're looking at Abigail Siegel on second base. Not to mention that, sure, they may want to look further at whatever that was that happened with Russo during the home run celebration, as Avery Perkins waits for the 0-1 and shows bunt, and over to third goes Siegel, and the home plate umpire is going to talk with Panthers head coach Val Silvestrini, and they are going to send Siegel back to second. And Avery Perkins, I think, a little comment for the umpire. I think she's not real happy seeing her teammate go back to second base.
I think the umpire ruled that indeed it was fouled away instead of just a drop to off the missed bunt, which would have allowed the stolen base. And, well, I have to say Perkins can be a little upset about it, but as you always like to say, you won't argue with City Hall. You won't get that call changed.
1-2 now to Perkins. And bounces that one to second and over to first. And she is out. The infield umpire over on the far side between second and third making the call. However, now Siegel is at third base as Lexi Chevalier comes up to bat.
I believe over at first, Coach Rubio, disappointed about the call. He started going like, oh, darn, over on the first base bag. But that was a really close play. They say ties go to the runner, but that time just unlucky for Perkins.
And they go to third, and Siegel's back in time. Ironically, after the home run, we're now looking at Lexi Chevalier here, who you could argue is the only other player that's hit one out of the park today because of the one that bounced over by the cars in foul territory.
It certainly exited the stadium, but sadly a couple 100 degrees too far to the left to count for an extra run.
And to the dismay of whoever's driving the vehicle that the ball went out to.
One fan here is going to have an unlucky surprise when they come back to their car after the end of this doubleheader. Or maybe they'll find a souvenir if there's no dent in the car or window.
I was going to say the bad news is there's some damage to your car. The good news is here's a softball. Outside for ball 2. And Siegel waiting at third base, hoping to make this a 3-run lead for the Spartans. Chevalier ready. Platten ready. Pitch on the way. It's going to be ball 3 as the drama intensifies here in the Namoli Family Stadium. Keep in mind, this is game 1 of a scheduled doubleheader, so still plenty of softball on the way. Do stick with us throughout the afternoon here on TampaSpartans.tv. 3-1, and Lexi Chevalier go ahead and take first base. Spartans with runners on the corners for Kate DeSimone.
I think a little bit of irony there as Weidinger leads in walks, Chevalier leads in home runs, and the two did the opposite. Weidinger had the home run, and Chevalier draws the walk.
And we're seeing a conference out in the circle, and with head coach Val Silvestrini out there, let's see if we're going to get perhaps a pitching change. Allison Platten is at 88 pitches currently, and indeed she is leaving. And so Silvestrini has seen enough. Platten gets the hook. She walked 3, struck out 1, gave up the home run, allowed 2 doubles, 8 hits, 6 runs, 4 of them earned. in 4 1/3. Alex Hendrian taking over. Panthers sophomore pitcher. And Taylor, what stats do we have on Alex Hendrian here in this 2023 season for Florida Tech?
Hendrian's been a go-to arm from the bullpen. She's had 55 2/3 innings on the circle, 26 strikeouts, 21 walks, and a 5.41 ERA. And it'll be interesting to see how well she does. I'd say also kind of similar to Platten, not the greatest strikeout to walk ratio, but Platten didn't have too many control difficulties in this game, and they'll be hoping that Hendrian, similarly, doesn't have any control issues.
And meanwhile, during that, assistant coach Denise Rubio came over and joined head coach Leslie Cantor, along with the two base runners, Lexi Chevalier and Abby Siegel, and obviously the current batter, Kate DeSimone. So Spartans with a little conference, as you see the throw down to third, and in fact it's Chevalier who takes second base. So DeSimone now with two runners in scoring position. They went to work right away on the relief pitcher, Alex Hendrian, did the Spartans. And now the 1-0 to DeSimone is ball 2.
I could tell the exact thing they wanted to do. They wanted to get Miracle to throw to second so Siegel could walk on home for a Spartan run. It's a tactic I've seen throughout softball and even throughout summer collegiate baseball that I was calling. And heads-up play by Miracle to
DeSimone, that's going to be bobbled, and a run will score as Siegel comes home, and DeSimone will reach on what should be an error. And yeah, Taylor, to continue what you were saying, you do have to credit Miracle for throwing to third and not to second.
In fact, Miracle did even better. A pump fake to second to try to get Siegel to jump, but Siegel was back safely when eventually the throw came that way. Sadly, that's all for nothing now because of that unfortunate error that is not only the second error of the game for Florida Tech, it gives the Spartans a 7-4 lead.
And now another, and she's going to be safe at home. Well, the Spartans definitely given the green light all the way around. As you see DeSimone go to second and another run cross the plate. An interesting tactic, Taylor, that Leslie Cantor has employed. They're going to change pitchers. Well, we're going to get really aggressive here, and we're going to run like crazy. And to her credit, Spartans have rewarded her as Hendrian working here against Watson, who swings and misses.
I'd say the aggressive base running has truly worked to perfection there. That was the play they drew up the first time with the runner to get the throw to second and then beat the throw back home. Didn't get it, and this time they do. And what's even funnier now is DeSimone's able to just relax in scoring position.
Here comes the 2-1 to Watson. Checks her swing. 2-2. And the Spartans, I'm nervous to say, have broken this game open. I don't want to take anything away from Florida Tech. They have proven to be a very worthy opponent here this afternoon. And by no means counting them out as the count goes full.
And I'll say, Spartans fans, if Florida Tech gets back into the game, you know who to reach out about the commentator's curse for Bruce.
I put the disclaimer on it. I put the disclaimer on it. I was cautious. Next pitch to Watson. And Miracle gathers that one up. Caroline Watson in a full count now. She struck out back in the second, singled in the fourth. Has her teammate Kate DeSimone standing on second base. And fouls that one back to the screen. I'll tell you what, head coach Val Silvestrini has really, you might as well say because of Lewin, being from New Zealand, scoured the globe. This lineup is from all over the place. As you see, that one will just drop foul. Looking down the roster, Arkansas, California, Illinois, Florida, Ohio, Texas. The list goes on. And so she has really found talent from all throughout the country. Of course, it's not too difficult to convince softball players to come and play the sport they love down in the Sunshine State. And now the 3-2. And Watson, another base hit. And DeSimone's going to come all the way around to score. And Caroline Watson with a strong RBI single as UT pouring it on here in the bottom of the 5th.
And I think it's great to see Watson succeeding. Entered the game for out of 25 at-bats. She had only 4 hits. And now today is 2 hits with 2 RBIs. Delivering a lot of offense for the Spartans. And actually, I do apologize, only 1 RBI. But
and the bad news for relief pitcher Alex Hendrian and the rest of the Florida Tech Panthers and their fans is the Spartans back around to the top of the order, and Lauren Fantone hit by pitch. And so things going from bad to worse here for the visiting team, as UT only has 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th.
I will say, Bruce, I think with that hit by pitch, all the Spartans would need to do is get a triple to have batters reach base in every conceivable way. From walk, single, double, home run. As we now also see Devin Hammonds enter the game as a pinch runner. They'll quickly give Watson a breather. But I think they might try some magic on the base paths yet again.
Now Hammonds at second and Fantone at first. And the batter is Lily Keister. Keister looked like she was going to go for the slap. Strike 1 to her.
Miracle actually almost had the ball slip out of her glove, even though it went for strike 1. Because if it did, it could have let Hammonds and Fantone try their luck in advancing.
The 0-1 and drops down a bunt. And the infield umpire says she is safe. And too much hesitation by Alex Hendrian.
Yeah, and I think that was just what killed Hendrian on the play. Looked to second, hoping that she was going to have the out there, and doesn't. By the time she's looked back at first, Keister's touching the bag. That was a very, very heads-up play by Keister to just keep running it out, and that's why you run it out, because sometimes the fielders won't make a quick enough play or maybe just make a little error, and that's going to be very unlucky for Hendrian, who could have at least got 1 out in the play from the circle.
Yeah, and that's a great lesson why you always have to run out every play, and probably started off looking like it was going to be an out. And instead, the Spartans end up with bases loaded. And again, as much as it doesn't feel like it, there's only 1 out. I had myself convinced that there were 2. And big opportunity here for the Spartans to really put this game out of reach, as Mariah Galehouse, the dangerous Mariah Galehouse, stepping into the batter's box.
Galehouse is 0 for 2 today, had a sac fly as well in the first. The big thing is, she's put the ball in play every single time, and it's usually gotten to the outfield. And that's going to be scary, because that would bring home another run on a sacrifice fly. Certainly Hammonds could make it home in time.
The 1-0 to Galehouse, and foul down the third base line. Just foul, I should say. Hammonds at third, Fantone at second, Keister at first. And UT has exploded for 4 runs here in the bottom of the 5th for a 9-4 lead. And now the 1-1. Galehouse and a trickler that's fielded and safe. And it almost looked exactly like the play right before it, where it looked routine. It looked like it would be an out at first. And the infield umpire Rule safe, and UT continues to add to their lead.
It's almost a swinging bunt in a way. It was so slow rolling that Hendry just couldn't reach it as it was in a very awkward angle. And by the time McLaughlin runs and picks it up, Galehouse is pretty much at first. So, yeah, certainly those types of plays, on paper, they look routine. In reality, far from it. 10-4 Spartans lead now.
The ball had everything working against it if you're Kelly McLaughlin. And the 0-1 outside to Cameron Weininger.
By the way, she's back at the plate this inning. A little bit earlier on, she gave us a nice little home run deep to left field. One of the first home runs this season for the Spartans.
1-1, she hits it right to second, and will they get the double play? No. Out at second. So again, have to run those out. And safe at first is the call.
It also brings home an RBI for Weininger there. And they're going to bring Russo back in the game. She had been just pinch ran for Siegel, but now they're going to make the switch as Russo steps back into the batter's box.
So UT now up 11-4. And runners on the corners here for Alexa Russo. And hold on, because Val Silvestrini wants to come out and have another conference here in the pitching circle, as things have not gone well since Alex Hendrian came in. She took over for starting pitcher Allison Platten, and unfortunately for Hendrian, things have just fallen apart for Florida Tech ever since she entered.
It really has. You mentioned in the first game it was one inning that everything just blew up for the Spartans, and it's happened here in the bottom of the fifth. The Spartans have just got everything working, and now, realistically, they are one run away from potentially bringing us to game number 2 at this stage.
Yeah, this is a case of this particular inning. Everything's going right for Tampa, and everything is going wrong for the Panthers.
Yep. As a Spartan fan, I know you'll be happy with everything going right, but it will be painful for Florida Tech. But with the doubleheader today, at least they'll have an immediate chance to respond and try to get the offense.
But you also make a great point, Taylor, in that last night, other than that first inning, everything went really well for the Panthers. And here they are in this game. Everything was going really well for them up until this inning. So it's kind of like they replaced last night's first inning with today's bottom of the fifth inning. So Russo, the batter, 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth. Weininger at first, Keister at third. The 1-0 on the way in the dirt. To Russo, and that just catches for strike 1. Russo doubled in this inning and chops that one to short, and the toss to second for out number 3, but not before the Spartans do a ton of damage in the bottom of the fifth inning to turn this into a 7-run lead. The Panthers will have their work cut out for them when we return with the top of the 6th right here on TampaSpartans.tv.
Champions know how to seize opportunities. When they see moments of greatness unfold right before their eyes, they push as hard as they possibly can, and then they push harder. Because the heart of a champion never settles, never quits, and never stops giving its all. We are champions. We are Division II. We go big, we give it everything we've got, and we win. on the field, on our campuses, in our communities, for our causes, in our careers. We rise to become champions in everything we do. We are Division II, and there are no limits here. We make our time count. We set our own path. We become champions on our terms. It's time to up your game, because we're here to play and learn. But most importantly, we're here to discover ourselves, our vision, our heart, our drive, to achieve every goal we aim for, because we want to be champions at the highest level, life. At Division II, the opportunities are here. Are you ready?
Back at the Inamoli Family Stadium, Spartans with a big 11-4 lead over the Florida Tech Panthers here in Game 1 of this scheduled doubleheader. 86 degrees, the temperature here. And it's getting very uncomfortable for the visiting team as they need to find a way and quickly get back into this game. Maya Ogbadewu batting here against Mariah Galhouse to start the top of the 6th. First pitch is in for a strike. And now the 0-1 outside for a ball.
Gilhouse, of course, relieved Gwen McGinnis, who, as it currently still says, McGinnis is going on the stat sheet. But Gilhouse, 2 innings, only 1 hit allowed, and 3 strikeouts. She would, I believe, be in position for the win if the Spartans are able to hold on to a somewhat comfortable 7-run lead at the moment. But doing a great job in the circle to start.
Next pitch from Galhouse, swung on, and Chevalier over to DeSimone, and down goes Maya Ogbadewu.
That's a bit of the catcher arm strength on the throw from third. A really good play. I don't think we're going to be able to run it out there, but Chevalier made sure that there wasn't even a chance for it.
And Galhouse fires in another strike.
So we're actually going to see Florida Tech bring in a pinch hitter. Number 16, Mary Polak, enters for the season. Polak hitting .231.
Galhouse ready with the next one. And that one sent to right field and caught for out number 2 by Mackenzie Allen.
Chloe French comes in as a pinch hitter. I think Florida Tech now just kind of giving some extra at-bats to some of their players here. Maybe they see the writing on the wall in a pretty secure Spartans lead, but also maybe giving a chance to try something new, see if that helps them out.
1-0 to Chloe French. And sends that one right back to Galhouse for out number 3. The Panthers go quickly in the top of the 6th. No runs, no hits, no Spartan errors, and no Panthers left on base. We'll be back with the Spartans bottom half of the 6th coming up on TampaSpartans.tv. Back here and ready to start the bottom of the 6th, and the Spartans, I think it's safe to say, comfortably in a 7-run lead after a big bottom of the 5th when they scored 6 times. And they start off with Avery Perkins.
I'll say when it comes to Tampa as well, I'm looking at the scorecard. They actually were able to go all the way around, where Weininger and Russo had 2 at-bats in the inning. Player who didn't, Avery Perkins, who's going to lead off now.
Alex Hendrian, the second Panthers pitcher of this game, sends in the first pitch of the bottom of the 6th, ball 1. And the 1-0 to Avery Perkins, and Perkins right back to Hendrian, over to first in plenty of time for out number 1. Avery Perkins heads back to the Spartans dugout. And Leslie Cantor, Spartans head coach, talking to the home plate umpire.
Looks like it'll be a pinch hit for Chevalier here. They're going to be bringing in Miranda Perez. For the season, Miranda Perez, 3 for 5 coming in as a pinch hitter. Hasn't started the game, but is featured in 3 of them.
And the first pitch, and Miranda swings and misses. A local product, played at Wiregrass Ranch High School. She's from just up I-75 in Wesley Chapel. And ball 1 to her there. Count is 1-1, and Perez waiting for Alex Hendrian, relief pitcher who took over from starter Allison Platten. Hendrian getting the signal, and that's going to be fouled on the first base side as Miranda Perez now sitting at a 2-2 count.
I believe that one was right by the bullpen, which I believe will be empty for Florida Tech right now.
2 balls, 2 strikes. And Perez stays alive. The count goes full. Miranda Perez waiting for the 3-2 on its way, and she will draw a base on balls as the Spartans get another base runner. And we're going to see another change in the Spartans lineup.
Yeah, indeed, it'll be Kaylee Ellsworth coming in. Ellsworth will be replacing KT Simone, but likely may get behind the plate potentially for the bottom or top of the 7th. The freshman from Merritt Island. Taking a look at her stats this season. Only has 1 hit in 6 tries, but that 1 hit was big. It brought home 4 RBIs, or at the very least, alongside a few other times, made a couple sacrifice plays. And, well, there's a lot of changes being made, because not only have Florida Tech pretty much changed the entire infield, including replacing Miracle, Lexi Chevalier is going to re-enter as a pinch runner.
And so Kaylee Ellsworth waiting to bat here against Alex Hendrian. And now everybody's ready. Hendrian winds, delivers, and chopped to short. And will they get 2? They do. So how about that? Panthers turn the double play and end the Spartans' 6th inning very quickly. UT gets no runs on one hit. There were no Panthers errors and one runner left. And we will go to the top of the 7th. The Panthers trailing by 7 when we come back on TampaSpartans.tv. And we're back, and the Panthers, a huge task here as they trail by 7, and the top of the 7th inning. And leading things off will be Ella Niles, the leadoff hitter, appropriately enough. And behind her, Lena Pollock and Whitney Ellis, the 1-2-3 hitters. Galehouse sends in the first pitch at the top of the 7th for strike 1.
Niles, I think, was ready for a bunt there.
Don't forget we have game 2 of the doubleheader coming up. That one's chopped, and Weininger will not get it over in time. And so Niles is aboard to start off the top of the 7th for Florida Tech.
That brings up Pollock, and Pollock is 0 for 3 today. But obviously, that means she's more likely to be due for a hit in this at-bat.
And down at first base, it looked like Ella Niles was ready to run. And there's a strike. We talked on the broadcast last night about Niles, 21 for 22 on stolen base attempts this season. So there's a bunt laid down, and Galehouse fields it.
Ooh.
And hold on.
Russo, a collision at second, as I think they were, not sure if they were calling it fair or foul on the bunt. The umpire was waving as if to say it was foul before.
And keep in mind that Russo had that, call it incident, in the home run celebration that shook her up to some extent. And now, second time in the same game, the same player being attended to. You can see just beyond the infield by 2 members of the Spartans training staff. And a lot of people waiting to see what's going to happen in a lot of different respects. Is Russo okay to stay in the game? What's the call on the play? And so Russo looks all right to stay in the game. And runners on first and second. So I did think that it was a safe call, and just kind of overshadowed by the collision at second. There's one that's sent, and DeSimone catches it just before the screen. And so out number one for the Panthers after they put runners at first and second, who will hold there as Jolie Miracle now comes to the plate. The number 4 hitter for the visiting team. And she sends that one foul down the left field line. So Taylor, give Florida Tech credit. They know they've got their work cut out for them here, and they're giving it everything they have, getting the first 2 batters on base.
Yeah, I mean, I think that bunt call was interesting because it looked like Cornier was trying to call off the play at first, but eventually the decision was changed. But I think that makes it doubly important that Galehouse immediately got the foul out on that next first pitch to the next batter, who I got to just double check and see. I believe it was Ellis, as it's now Miracle at the plate.
At the knees for a ball. Yeah, make no mistake, Mariah Galehouse in relief of Gwen McGinnis. She has had to work. It's not been easy. This Panthers team really brought it this afternoon, and they almost have to be pleased that they're going to have an immediate opportunity, game 2 of the doubleheader, to come right back at these Spartans. Revenge and just kind of we were playing so well, and there's a hit by pitch. And so bases loaded now.
There'll also be a chance to try to avoid a potential sweep there for that final game. They'll give them some extra motivation. But don't even count out a late inning miracle potentially. McAllister inherits bases loaded. Lewin steps up now, or I think coming back into the game for McAllister. Might have been pinch hit for last time.
So bases loaded here with only 1 out at the top of the 7th. And Michaela Lewin looking down to her coach at third base as Leslie Cantor comes out of the Spartans dugout. And UT is going to have a conference here. As things getting interesting. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast that the Spartans are trying to extend their overall winning streak to 7 games. And they're trying to get lucky number 7 by virtue of closing out this top of the 7th. So the 2-0 from Galehouse, and that one is shot foul over towards the Panthers dugout.
Wonder whether fatigue could be setting in a little bit for Galehouse. Of course, had a pretty long game last night.
And that one's chop foul down the third baseline. Count goes even now to Michaela Lewin, 2-2. On the way, swings and to short, over to second. And will they get the runner at first? No. But a run does cross the plate. So Florida Tech hanging around as the score goes to 11-5. And we'll see Ella Gibson in the batter's box now for the visitors. Gibson 0 for 3 in this game. And the first pitch to her is strike 1.
He's positive for the Spartans as they just need that final out. and they'll hold on to the victory.
For Florida Tech, on the other hand, runners on the corners. And that one looked dangerously close to almost another hit by pitch.
Yeah, and you can tell the command just not perfect right now for Gale House.
And there goes the runner to second, and she is safe.
That looked close, but the tag just a little bit late there, I think.
So another run crosses the plate in the process. And it makes it 11-6. There's one that's a base hit and should drive in another run as the throw comes home. And scoring is Michaela Lewin.
Now everything's turning right for Florida Tech here in the final inning. Spartans still have the 4-run lead from that massive bottom of the fifth, but it's quickly shrinking as I believe it'll be Dutton or potentially the original player heading back into the game for her. Stats a little far behind.
So Gibson at second. And as Taylor mentioned, there are 2 outs here, but the Panthers never say die. And continuing to stay alive here in the top of the 7th against Mariah Galehouse. So 11-7, and that one is chop foul. Maya Ogbedewu. And now the 0-1, and that's fouled off the other way. So 0-2, and the Panthers have scored 3 times here in the top of the 7th. Can they stay alive? They do have a runner in scoring position currently. And that one's fouled as Ogbedewu will stay alive to see at least one more pitch. Mariah Galehouse trying to close things out here. And ready with the signal for the 0-2. And that's going to be a ball. And Taylor, you have to admire a player that in a pressure situation like that is confident enough to stay with the bat on her shoulder.
It's close, especially when you're looking.
And right back to Galehouse for out number 3. And that will end the ball game as UT wins it 11-7. And a game that, Taylor, you could say this game had a little bit of everything.
Indeed. I mean, a bit of offense, a couple little fielding things, and overall some solid pitching from both sides. McGinnis recorded a few strikeouts, but yeah, offensive explosions, though, were the name of the game. 5 runs in the first, actually 6 runs in the first 2 innings, and then 5 innings in a row of runs coming home. And then in the very end, a couple late explosions from both teams, bringing this to a thrilling 11-7 finish.
And both teams used 2 pitchers each. Final line score, 11 runs on 11 hits, 1 error for the Spartans, 7 runs on 9 hits, 2 errors for Florida Tech. UT overall improves to 28-2 on the season, and Florida Tech now drops below 500. They are 20-21, although a chance to try to get back to 500 in the second game of this doubleheader. We will be back with it in approximately 20 minutes, and we appreciate you watching Spartan Softball right here on TampaSpartans.tv.